The day finally came. A bright, dusty afternoon greeted her as the sun lazily hovered over the sleepy town of Oodon Chua. Her heels clicked sharply on the dry, cracked ground, echoing like gunshots in an empty room. She wore a bold yellow wig, almost too bright for the soft tones of the town. Her smile was wide, stretched across her face like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. That woman was Yubina, and though she looked radiant on the outside, the truth was far heavier. Lagos had drained her emotionally, financially, and spiritually. She had tasted betrayal, heartbreak, even homelessness. Her once glamorous life was shattered, but standing at the entrance of this quiet, mysterious town, she whispered to herself with a fierce determination, "I will not rest. I will rebuild my life, and this time, I will succeed." Dragging a box that seemed heavier than her regrets, she stumbled into a tiny one-room apartment she had rented. It wasn't fancy, a cracked wall here, a creaky fan there, but it was hers. That night, she lay on the floor, staring at the ceiling fan rotating slowly like the thoughts in her head. She felt strangely calm. A small voice within told her this place held something different. "I will make this town know my name," she whispered, hugging herself tightly. "No man will ever dim my shine again." Over the next few weeks, Yubina became an observer. She walked through the town, studying it with eyes like a curious child. The community surprised her. The women didn't seem interested in beauty or glamour. Many were on low cuts, some braided their own natural hair, and others wore strange plastic wigs that looked like they had survived a microwave explosion. Yubina, a trained hairstylist with years of skill and hustle in her hands, was shocked. How can people with money look like this? She thought, watching women step out of SUVs wearing sponge-like wigs. One morning, unable to hold her curiosity, she decided to ask a neighbor, "Good morning, sister. Please don't be offended." "Oh, but I've been meaning to ask, I noticed there are no salons here. Is there a reason?" "I hope all is well," she said politely. The girl, who was dressing a toddler at the time, turned slowly and gave Yubina a long, almost pitiful look. "There are no stylists here, my dear. We're just managing like that." Before Yubina could probe further, the girl raised her hands and walked away, shutting the door behind her like the conversation was too dangerous to continue. Yubina stood there, frozen, her brows furrowed. "Strange people," she muttered. The town had tall houses, fancy cars, and well-fed children, yet no one offered beauty services. No salons, no spas, not even a kiosk with braids on display. That was when the fire sparked in her again. Her hands itched, her mind calculated. "They may not have stylists, but they will have me." She smiled. That day Yubina made a decision that would change her life forever, for better or for worse. The silent warning 2 weeks after making her decision. Yubina officially opened her salon in the heart of Oodon Chua. She named it proudly, Yubina's Touch. The shop wasn't much, just a small space with faded pink walls and a cracked mirror. But to Yubina, it was the beginning of a new empire. She scrubbed the floors until they shone, lined up her edge controls and oils in neat rows, her braided wigs, and whispered under her breath, "Let the sleigh begin." She giggled to herself, unaware of what was truly about to begin. By midday, she opened the doors wide, adjusted the welcome mat, and stood outside with a big grin on her face, ready to welcome customers. But something off happened. A large crowd had gathered across the street, mostly women, all watching her intently. They weren't smiling, they weren't gossiping, they were just staring, silent, suspicious, afraid. Yubina waved at them. No one waved back. One woman leaned to the other and whispered, loud enough for Yubina to hear, "Who is this woman that doesn't love herself?" Another muttered, "Maybe we should warn her." But before anything more could be said, the crowd slowly began to disperse. Some walking backwards as if retreating from a dangerous place. Yubina stood there, confused, her hands still frozen midway. "Did I offend them?" she asked herself. She turned, walked back inside, and tried to shake off the strange vibe. Village people and their village behavior. By the end of her first week, not a single customer had walked in. No appointments, no inquiries, not even a child walked past her shop. It was as if her business had been erased from their view. "These people must be mad," she said, pacing in frustration. "Their hair is suffering. I'm offering them luxury styling, and they're acting like I'm selling poison." With no clients to serve, Yubina decided to pivot. She brought out her braiding stand and began making braided wigs to sell. She picked out colorful attachments, red, green, purple, and blonde, and laid them out in a box just outside her shop. The moment she opened that box, chaos erupted. Children playing nearby suddenly screamed in terror. One small boy dropped his toy and fled. Another child tripped and began crawling away on all fours, crying out in horror. She has brought it out. It is happening again. Yubina stood frozen, one pink attachment in her hand, completely shocked. Brought what out? She whispered to herself. This is just hair. It's not juju. But the children didn't stop. They ran as if they had seen a ghost rise from the earth. A teenage girl holding a bag of puff puff dropped it and sprinted across the road, shoes in hand, panting like she was escaping death. The next day, determined to ignore the drama, Yubina tried again. She wore her best outfit, set up her ring light, played Tiwa Savage softly in the background, and left the door wide open. She even put out flyers promising free hair cream for first-time customers. But still, no one entered. In fact, one young woman who was walking past the shop took off her heels and ran barefoot down the street as she neared Yubina's touch. Is this a joke? Yubina said aloud. Even free things can't bring these people in. Then, on the third day, something strange happened. The door creaked open. An elderly woman walked in, her back hunched slightly, her steps deliberate. She was wrapped in 3 thick wrappers and wore a scarf around her head. Her eyes were sharp and ancient. Her name was Mama Oza, the oldest living woman in the community. She didn't smile. She didn't greet. She just looked around the shop with eyes like an inspector. Yubina forced a cheerful tone. Mama, good afternoon. Do you want to make your hair? The old woman removed her scarf slowly, revealing thick, silver hair, coiled in natural curls. She didn't sit down. Instead, she said calmly, No, I came to warn you. Yubina blinked. Warn me? About what? Mama Oza stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Stylists don't last in this town. We value our lives. Then, she told a tale. Years ago, she said, a brilliant stylist had opened a salon not far from where Yubina now stood. Her braids were magical, so neat that people came from outside villages just to get styled. But one day, a strange woman came into her shop, and she was never seen again. The same thing happened to every stylist who ever tried to open shop in this community. Yubina burst into laughter, even though goosebumps had already taken over her arms. Ah, Mama, I beg, all these village stories, I don't believe in them. Mama Oza didn't argue. She simply tied her scarf back on and turned to leave. Before stepping out, she paused and said one last thing. Believe it or not, the eye is watching. The door closed softly behind her. And Yubina, though pretending not to care, felt her chest tighten ever so slightly. Despite Mama Oza's warning echoing in her ears, Yubina refused to be discouraged. She poured all her energy into marketing, styling, and pushing her craft. She didn't believe in ghost stories. She believed in hard work. Every morning, she opened her shop with a smile, played upbeat music, styled new wigs, and waited. For 3 long months, she pushed. Then one bright Saturday afternoon, the change finally came. A young woman from Lagos came into the town to visit her grandmother. She was stylish, confident, and immediately caught sight of the golden braided wig hanging outside Yubina's shop. She paused, tilted her head, walked closer. The community women stopped to stare. Everyone held their breath. The Lagos girl walked in. Good afternoon, she said. Welcome, madam, Yubina said, surprised and thrilled. The lady walked around, touched the wig, smiled, and bought it on the spot. Right there, she wore the wig in front of the mirror. It was a perfect fit. And just like magic, the town changed. The women who once feared the salon now peeked inside. Some came to ask about wigs, others to buy hair cream, and a few brave ones booked appointments for simple cornrows. Within 2 weeks, Yubina's touch became the hottest spot in the community. Women came in groups, sat in waiting chairs, sipped malt, and chatted loudly about their lives. Teenage girls began lining up for braids, aunties came for closures, and even older women wanted to dye their hair brown and blonde. Yubina was working non-stop, 10 customers a day, sometimes more. Money flowed. She upgraded the salon, bought a ring light with Bluetooth, ordered designer attachments from Lagos, and stocked imported products. In just months, she moved into a 3-bedroom flat and bought a small Toyota Camry from the girl who once begged for rent in Lagos. Yubina was now the queen of Oodon Chua. But while everyone was celebrating, something was watching. Something silent. Something waiting. Then, one ordinary afternoon, the day that would change everything arrived. Yubina was braiding a little girl's hair and humming happily when the shop door creaked open. A tall figure entered, so tall her head almost brushed the lintel. The woman was dressed entirely in black. Her gown flowed like water. Her skin was pale. Her hair was long and uncombed, reaching down her waist like dark vines. She wore black sunglasses. Even though the sky was cloudy, the entire salon went quiet. The music stopped playing. Even the ring light flickered. The woman's voice was low, sleepy, and slow. Good day. I want to braid the raining star style. Make it very tight. She showed Yubina the style on her phone and sat without another word. Yubina, being a professional, smiled nervously. No, wahala, madam. You will love it. She wiped her palms, tied a towel around the woman's neck, and began braiding. The woman's hair was thick, so thick it felt like wire in Yubina's hands. It resisted the comb like it hadn't been touched in years. Yubina tried to stay calm, humming as she used edge control and gently parted the strands. Then, suddenly, the woman jerked. Ah! Be careful. You're touching my eye. Yubina froze. What? She asked, blinking. My eye. Can't you see? It's in the middle. The woman said this without even turning around. Yubina's hands trembled. She paused, confused. What kind of nonsense is this? Is this woman okay? She thought. Still, she parted the hair gently again, and then she saw it, buried deep in the middle of the woman's scalp, hidden under thick strands, was a real, living human eye, wide open and staring directly at her. Yubina gasped and fell back, nearly tripping over a chair. The woman didn't move. Is something wrong? She asked. Yubina forced a fake smile. Her throat was dry. No, oh, I just need more edge control. But inside, her heart was beating like a drum. She turned to reach for the edge control. But when she turned back, the chair was empty. The mysterious woman was gone. Just gone. No footsteps, no goodbye, not even a breeze. The shop, once full of chatter, was now dead silent. The music stopped. The ring light blinked once, twice, then went off. Darkness filled the room. Yubina stood still, comb in hand, staring into the void. She called out, Chinny, are you there? No answer. She tried to flip the switch, but the lights didn't come back on. Then she heard it. A voice, slow, deep, and echoing from the walls. You have touched what you shouldn't have touched. Yubina clutched the counter. Who's there? Show yourself, she cried. But the voice ignored her panic. Now, you must pass the 5 tests. Or pass away. Yubina screamed and staggered back, groping for the door. But when she flung it open, there was no street, no sky, no buildings, only darkness. She fell to her knees, trembling. Please, I'll leave this salon. I'll leave this community. Just let me go. The voice growled. You were warned. You ignored it. Now, you must pay. You may leave here, dead or alive, but no stylist has ever passed my test. And you won't either. Suddenly, the ground beneath Yubina shifted. She screamed. The floor opened, and the darkness swallowed her whole. The first test begins. Yubina landed hard on her knees, in what looked like her own salon, but it wasn't. The space was darker, colder, and older, as though it had been abandoned for years. Cracked mirrors lined the walls. The air smelled of rust, hair dye, and decay. Cobwebs clung to the corners like silent witnesses to past horrors. In the center of the room sat a human head. Yes, just the head. No neck, no body. It rested on a velvet stool like a mannequin. But breathing. Its hair was a giant ball of tangled knots, thick and matted, like it hadn't seen a comb in decades. Then the voice returned, louder now, all around her, like thunder rolling inside her chest. Detangle it, gently. If it feels pain, it will scream. If it is satisfied, it will let you know. Yubina swallowed hard. At first she thought, this one is easy. I've handled worse. She took a deep breath and picked up a white tooth comb from a cracked table beside her. She stepped forward and whispered, You've done this 100 times, Yubina. Just hair. You know how to treat hair. She reached out and began combing, slowly, gently, like handling a newborn. But the hair fought her. It wrapped around the comb, pulled it in, and resisted every stroke. It moved like it was alive. Then suddenly, the head screamed. Yubina dropped the comb and stumbled back, her hands flying to her chest. Jesus, this is not hair. This is not hair. She looked around. No doors. No way out. Tears filled her eyes. God, please, I'm just trying to survive. I don't deserve this. Then she remembered the voice's warning. If it screams, you fail. She knelt slowly before the head, palms up like she was begging. I'm sorry, she whispered to it. I didn't mean to hurt you. Then, softly, she began untangling the hair with her fingers, humming to calm herself. She separated each knot slowly, like they were sacred. She massaged the scalp. She whispered apologies. She worked gently, carefully, with reverence. After a long while, the head smiled. Then the voice returned. First test complete. Before she could even exhale fully, the entire room spun. The walls stretched. The mirrors shattered. The ground opened again. Yubina screamed, then silence. She woke up in front of a salon sink, a different room. Colder, darker, darker. Inside the sink sat another head. Its hair dry and full of dirt, ashes, and what looked like dead insects. A small note appeared beside it, glowing faintly. Second test, wash the hair. But beware, if you feel disgust or vomit, you fail. Do not spit. Do not gag. Yubina rolled up her sleeves. She was ready. She whispered a prayer under her breath and turned on the tap. But instead of water, thick, hot blood gushed out of the faucet, spilling into the sink and soaking the hair. The smell was unbearable. A mix of rot, iron, and something worse. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run, but she held her breath. It's just a test. It's just a test, she repeated. She dipped her fingers into the mess and began scrubbing. The blood sloshed, releasing a putrid stench that made her stomach twist. Her hands shook, her eyes watered, her throat tightened. Then she saw it, a tooth, tangled in the hair. Yubina closed her eyes and swallowed hard. She bent down and forced herself to continue, to comb through blood. She shampooed bones. She fought back the bile rising in her throat. She did not gag. She did not quit. Then, silence. The voice returned. Second test complete. Yubina dropped to the ground, gasping for air. Her dress was soaked. Her arms were shaking. But she was alive. She had passed too. Then the ground cracked again. She screamed. Yubina landed with a thud. This time, she was in a strange, glowing salon room, bathed in pink light. In the center sat a terrifying figure, a demon. But not the kind with horns and fire. No. This one had pink acrylic nails, long lashes like broomsticks, and a face beat to perfection. Her legs were crossed. She chewed imaginary gum and rolled her neck like a beauty queen from hell. The voice echoed again. Third test, relax her hair, make her beautiful, but you must not speak to her. Not a word. Yubina almost laughed. I can do this with my eyes closed, she thought. She grabbed her relaxer kit, already feeling hopeful. But the moment she stepped closer, the demon snapped. Ah, look at you, small stylist. I hope you know what you're doing. I have a date after this. Oh, Yubina smiled awkwardly and nodded, remembering the instruction. No talking. She parted the demon's hair carefully and began applying the relaxer. The chemical smell that wafted up wasn't normal. It was rotten, like dead frogs soaked in acid. Still, she didn't react. The demon flipped her hair. You deform, mute Abi. Okay now. Yubina said nothing. The demon kept trying. Me. I'm natural. Oh. I know they use all these fake horns like the others in hell. You see me. Original. Package. Yubina kept working, staying focused. The demon twerked violently in the chair. She yawned loudly. She even clapped in Yubina's face. Still, no response. Then the demon hissed loudly and said, What's your name, Seth? Abi, you be ghost. Yubina bit her lip. She was tempted to answer, just to shut the demon up, but she didn't. She finished the relaxing style, the hair in neat curls, and stepped back. A mirror appeared from thin air. The demon admired herself and grinned. Then the voice returned. Third test, passed. Before Yubina could catch her breath, the room evaporated. She was falling again. This time, she landed in a chair, strapped beneath an ancient Salon hair. The machine looked like it hadn't been used since 1922. Its metal body was rusty. It crackled with energy. Then came the voice. Fourth test, sit under this dryer. You must not cry, no matter what you see. If a tear falls, you fail. Before she could react, the machine clicked on with a boom. Heat exploded around her like a firestorm, but the pain wasn't physical, it was emotional. Visions flashed before her eyes. She saw herself, years ago, in Lagos, crying in a corner as her fiancé abandoned her on their wedding day. Then she saw her stepfather, the man who ruined her childhood, how he violated her trust and left her with a pregnancy at a young age. She saw the day she removed that child, alone, in a clinic that smelled of bleach and blood. She saw her sleeping with strangers just to afford food. She saw her mother and father's lifeless bodies, crushed in a road accident. She was just 13. From riches to rags, just like that. Tears began to build. She bit her lips so hard they bled. No, you will not cry, she screamed in her mind. You're Yubina, you're fire, you've survived worse. The memories screamed louder, but she clenched her fists and held it in. She held the pain, the shame, the grief, and finally, the dryer clicked off. The room went dark again. She sobbed on the floor, not from failure, but from exhaustion. Then the voice whispered softly, like a ghost passing through curtains. Fourth test complete. She barely had time to breathe, because suddenly she was standing again. Before her stood the final nightmare, Zuna, the tall, terrifying woman in black. Her hair flowed down like a waterfall, and buried within it, the same. I was still watching. Congratulations, Yubina, Zuna said with a smirk. But one final test remains. The real one. Before Yubina could speak, an invisible hand gripped her throat and lifted her into the air. Your final test is death. You must die. The final test, death, blood, and rebirth. Yubina thrashed wildly in the air, the invisible hand tightening around her neck. She could feel her lungs collapsing, her limbs growing weak. Zuna stood calmly beneath her, the eerie eye still blinking slowly from her hair. No one comes here and leaves alive, she whispered coldly. You touched my eye, and now, you must pay. The price is death. Yubina's legs kicked helplessly, her vision blurred. Everything went quiet. She was seconds away from passing out when a voice echoed in her ears. Not Zuna's voice, not the spirit's, her mother's voice. You carry fire, my child. Use it. Use your blood to fight. In a burst of desperate courage, Yubina reached for a sharp object, a broken metal comb lying on the ground beside her. With trembling hands, she slashed her finger, letting the blood flow. Then she did something bold. She cut off a chunk of her own hair, her thick, beautiful braiding hair, and began braiding it with her blood, chanting softly, "This is my power, my gift, my fire." The room trembled. A wind swept through. Zuna screamed, "What are you doing? Stop!" But it was too late. Yubina's hair began to glow with a fiery red light, the braid pulsing with energy. The invisible hand released her, fell to the ground, coughing violently, gasping for air. But she didn't stop. She charged at Zuna, holding the blood-braided strand. Like a weapon. She leaped. She screamed. She stabbed it into the center of Zuna's forehead, where the eye lived. There was a blast of light. Blood exploded from Zuna's head like a volcano. She shrieked so loud, the walls cracked. Her body twisted. Her limbs vanished into smoke. Her hair turned to ashes, and then she was gone. Gone. Forever. Yubina collapsed to her knees. Her dress soaked, her fingers trembling. The entire room began to change. The darkness lifted. The cracked mirrors repaired themselves. Sunlight poured in through invisible windows. The ring light turned back on, and slowly, Yubina opened her eyes, but she couldn't see anything. Nothing, just black. She heard a voice, a familiar one. "Madam, thank God. Oh, you've woken up. You've been sleeping since morning." It was Chinny, her assistant. Yubina sat up on the salon floor, dazed. "Chinny, why is everywhere dark? Please turn on the light, I can't see." Chinny looked confused. "But madam, the lights are on. Everything is bright." That's when Yubina realized she was blind. The spirit was gone, but it had taken her sight in return. When the community heard what had happened to Yubina, they were shocked. Some pitied her. Others whispered that she should have listened to Mama Oza, but Yubina, she didn't care. She had lost her eyes, yes, but she had freed the entire community from the evil force that had haunted them for decades. 1 month later, the town gathered at the community square. Yubina stood tall, dressed in bright yellow. She told them everything, how the spirit operated, how the tests broke her, how courage and sacrifice saved her. People cried, people clapped, people bowed. From that day on, Yubina was known as the woman who faced the Iron One. A special day was declared in her honor, Yubina's Day. Every year, women braided their hair in bold, glowing styles to celebrate her victory. Yubina still ran her salon, even blind. She trained her hands to move by memory. She could now braid 14 heads in a single day, and styles that used to take 3 days now took her just 1 hour. She opened multiple salons in the city. She became the richest stylist in Lagos, and though she never regained her sight, she saw more clearly than ever. Her story became a legend, a warning, a symbol of bravery. Moral of the story: when you walk in your purpose, when you stand up against darkness, even if you lose something, you gain the world. Thank you so much for watching. Stay strong, stay brave, and stay blessed.